closed. It's contact. Max Verstappen claims title number 3.
An incredible weekend here at Silverstone has given us quite an incredible result. For the first time in 2.5 years, Lewis Hamilton stands once again on the top step of the podium. And if it meant a lot to the fans here at Silverstone, it meant even more to him. The emotions pouring out of the 7-time world champion as he took a record 9th victory at one circuit, his 104th win in Formula One, his 150th podium with Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton is a race winner once again. Welcome to your post-race show, folks, with me, Will Buxton, with Jolyon Palmer. And Jolyon, that race had it all, mate. It started in the dry, the rain fell, and through it all in those differing, inclement conditions, Lewis Hamilton once again, as he has been for so many years, just the master of all.
Yeah, I mean, that was breathless stuff the whole way through. But yeah, there's so many different aspects to winning that race. Russell had the start. Then Hamilton came alive as soon as it started raining. That's not a surprise. He's so good in those conditions, especially at this circuit. McLaren had it in their control. They were 1-2, but through it all, driver and strategy and pit stops, Mercedes came on top, and what a story. Hamilton getting another win, the final time here with Mercedes. They have done so much winning around here, and he's going to round out that with another.
The words from Lewis Hamilton, that there were days when he woke up and he questioned whether he still had it, whether he could still be the driver that would win Grand Prix. And you could see when he embraced his father, the two of them, Lewis's entire body shaking with the emotion of, I guess, the validation. It's incredible to think that someone who has achieved so much, won more than anyone in the history of this sport, could ever have had those moments of such crushing self-doubt.
Yeah, brutally honest. But, you know, he's a human. He's a human. He's a winning machine, and he's done so much celebrating here at Silverstone in the past. But it has been a few years. He's 39. He'll be 40 at the start of his Ferrari tenure next season. And it's been 2 years since he's won. Russell has been so strong as a teammate. He's not had this sort of challenge, I mean, since probably the Jenson Button days, Nico Rosberg potentially. But even with Rosberg, you always felt like Hamilton was the dominant driver. Rosberg had a good run to the championship. Russell has been really fast. He's been out qualifying Lewis pretty consistently. And at that point, as a driver, it's only natural when the teammate's faster. It doesn't matter if you're Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel in his final couple of years. You start to question, are you still at the top of your game? And then you have a race like this where you need to put everything together. It's not easy conditions. When it's raining, it gets slippery on slicks. You've got to be thinking, first of all, keep the car on track, go as quickly as possible. But then, what tyres do you want? You've got to be thinking outside the box as well. And it's the race where Hamilton can come back to the fore again. It was brilliant.
He had to put the move on his teammate. He had to make the moves work. He had to make the moves stick. Being chased down as well by Lando Norris, Max Verstappen coming at the end as well. Yes, strategy had to play a part today, Jolyon, clearly, and Mercedes called it beautifully in comparison to McLaren, who we'll get on to later, but just had another miserable day when it comes to strategy. But Lewis, just supreme, I thought, today.
Well, there was a big moment in that first band of rain where all the drivers were struggling. Both Mercedes went off at Abbey. Norris came past Russell and then picked off Hamilton. And Bono got on the radio and said, Lewis, we think it's time for inters. And Lewis said, no, it's still too dry out there. Now, that was the same feedback as a lot of other drivers out there. But had he come into the pits, there is no way he's winning the race. He's ending up mired down a lap with Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez and Ocon and the rest that took that punt. So it's about having the right decision. Verstappen did really well in the Red Bull as well to make the right decision from the cockpit, because you cannot just listen to the team in these situations. It relies on two-way feedback, the driver's feeling the grip, but it's so difficult to do that and keep the car on circuit and be quick and overtake and watch your back with so many talented drivers around. And that was the magic of the Grand Prix. It was team and driver in perfect harmony.
George Russell, was having a good race until he wasn't, because, of course, forced into retirement, a car issue for him. He'd had such a strong weekend up to that point, of course, pole position. He won the last race in Austria too. I'm imagining he'll be gutted with the result today.
Absolutely. As we get a big cheer, Lewis, all smiles coming past us. Yeah, I think George will be gutted. It was a nice moment that he came down to congratulate Lewis straight away, wasn't it? But in the end, when the rain fell, he just didn't quite have that feel for grip today that Lewis had. And then, of course, he was then unlucky being the second Mercedes driver with the strategy. Double stacking cost him another position. And then the retirement. So a lot of small things going against George. He's super talented. He's so fast. Mercedes is going to be regularly fighting for victories, I really think, this year, and they're both going to have more opportunities.
They're back, aren't they?
They're back. It's fun.
Let's hear from George Russell on a day of what might have been.
Hey George, obviously from the highs of leading your home race to having to retire from it when you had a real opportunity, just sum up how you're feeling right now.
Yeah, really disappointed. It was everything was under control at the beginning of the dry. Then very challenging conditions in the damp. I started losing power, and next thing I had to retire the car. So yeah, really disappointed.
When you kind of look at the weekend as a whole, is it too early to start to look at the positives of it, or do you?
I mean, yeah, for sure we'll take the positives. You know, the car's fast, and we'll have more opportunities. But retiring from any race is disappointing, let alone your home race. And you know, we definitely had a shot at, at least a podium.
Hard luck, thank you.
We are joined by Oscar Piastri, and I can see in your face the disappointment. This felt like a race that McLaren could have won. It felt like a race you could have won.
Yes, it does. I think we made a lot of good decisions in the race, I think, and just had good moments of the race. I think the pace from Lando and I when it started to rain was very strong. I think the call to go back onto slicks was the right one. I think on my side, going onto the medium was the correct call. Just unfortunately lost so much time staying out of that extra lap on slicks. So definitely some things to review.
This is it. So end of lap 26, Max and the Mercedes come in. It was end of lap 27 that Lando comes in. What's going through your head when you're told to stay out?
I mean, I was okay with the decision. I knew I was going to lose a lot of time if we double stacked, because given I was, half a second behind Lando at that point. So it was kind of a joint decision. I guess we just need to review whether we had any more information we could have used to make a better call there. So I knew as soon as I went past pit entry that I was in a lot of trouble, but that's how it goes sometimes.
It was a close run thing between you two today. Carlos, how was the race from your perspective?
Honestly, not that close. No, I think McLaren today were quite a bit quicker. We did manage to get in the fight with them with the right calls and being in the right tire at the right time in every moment, which today, at least that side, we got it all right. But as soon as it was very wet or very dry, we had nowhere to go against them. But happy to at least manage to get ourselves in the fight with them.
For both you guys, when you're out on track and the team is feeding you back the information and asking you the question, do you want to stop? Is it wet enough? Is it dry enough? How much is it actually down to you, and how much is about them giving you the right information at the time as to where it's raining on track?
I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, obviously it's up to us ultimately, because we're the ones that can tell if we can keep it on the track or not. I think in our case today, that was probably the hardest decision in F1 you could have. Your two cars, 1-2, separated by half a second. The rain's coming down, and you need to decide if you're going to double stack them or not. So I don't think it really gets any more high pressure than that. But unfortunately, I think we got it wrong today. I think it was a very difficult one to get right. We had that little shower earlier, and everyone stayed out and managed. So I think we sort of thought we could do a similar kind of thing. But just didn't quite pay off today.
And Carlos, fastest lap of the race. You're within 4 points of your teammate in the championship now. A reason to smile at the end of the Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, to come out of this weekend where we haven't been in the pace, and especially with such a complicated race with 11 points on the back, it's important for the team because these guys are coming super quick from behind. And also, you can see, Mercedes if the two cars would have finished today, it would have been a massive amount of points that they could have get. So yeah, as Oscar said, a really difficult race, very difficult to make all the right calls. We studied really well the radar on Friday and Saturday to more or less try to understand if the intensities of the rain and in which tire you need to be at each time, and this time it paid off. Unfortunately, we got everything right the weekend that we were not quick enough, and we didn't manage to fight for something else. But I'm going to take the positives.
You guys pretty much had opposite races, where operationally, Ferrari were bang on, but you didn't quite have the pace. McLaren missed a beat, but you were super quick, Oscar. But tell me about the conditions, because from a driver's point of view, I know how hard it is when you're on slick tyres, the rain's coming down. I mean, we saw you flying off the road at Abbey with a few other drivers as well. How hard is that to keep the car on the track, on the slicks, and then think about whether you want inters? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's the toughest conditions you can have in a race car. And I think, that's why we looked quicker than Mercedes at one point, because they were the first ones to go through it all, and we could judge from them what was going on. I think our car's always been very strong in those conditions, so that helps, but it doesn't really get any tougher than that. So, sometimes you feel like you don't even turn the wheel and the car nearly does a 360 on you. So it's very, very tough. And especially here, I don't know about you, but it was impossible to tell if the track was wet or dry.
Yeah.
The color of the track was not changing really. Even in the laps to the grid, it was inters clearly one lap and slicks clearly the next. So it dried up a lot. But yeah, just a very tricky one to get right.
Tricky triple header for you guys as well, Carlos. The upgrade package in Spain. I know you reverted back to the Imola package this weekend. Bit of head scratching for the team to do before the next double?
Yeah, definitely. I would be lying if I said we're going through a good moment now. I think it's a bit of a rough patch. The fact that we are still in Imola spec of the car shows that obviously in F1, if you stand still for 2 or 3 months, these guys and obviously strong teams like Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren are going to bite you, and they're going to put 2 or 3 tenths on you. So yeah, we need to try and understand, and especially we need a bit of time now that we understand where we got it wrong, to find unlock performance on the car, to try and regain those 2 or 3 tenths that we've lost in the last 2 or 3 weekends. So some homework to do.
Thank you both for coming on the show. Appreciate it. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you
guys. Appreciate it. Right, we will get on to unpacking some of that in a minute, but we want to welcome on Alex Albon to the show. Alex, back in the points. Hello. We were chatting this morning, and you were saying how much you love this track, and when it comes to you, and you got the confidence how great it is to drive. It looked like fun for you today.
It was not fun for the first lap, and then it became fun. We had a contact in turn 3, contact in turn 4. So
good saw that.
Good start. Dropped down a few positions, and then the good thing is because it was almost guaranteed rain to come in. It was almost like, okay, it's not over. The race is going to come to us. We enjoy that kind of chaotic mixed race, and we just had to wait our time. Once the rain came, lick your lips, and it came. Yeah.
How loose was that at the start? Because we saw on board with you. You were like fishtailing coming out of turn 3, bit of a touch here and there.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember it. It was a little bit compromising. We had some damage on the front wing, clipping Fernando, and then I got hit on the rear left as well into 4. So there's a little bit of a question mark as well, what damage we had. Once we did the first stop, we could correct the balance with the flat. And so from kind of the inter stint to the final stint, we were actually a bit more competitive and we could fight.
How important is it for the team to be scoring points, not just at home, but particularly in this triple header, which I know you guys were really not looking forward to?
It is. We have been struggling. We need to create a little bit of a buffer to the Saubers behind. And then, of course, we're still wanting to fight the Alpines and whatnot. 2 points goes a long way. That's not a given, especially this year. So we'll take that. And a nice comeback. Barcelona and Red Bull Ring, we were very slow, and it was nice to come back to a quick track.
You guys are really worried about Sauber at the moment. You seem like you're a good step ahead.
Maybe I'm too pessimistic, but for example, Barcelona, we were quite a lot slower. We finished almost 30 seconds down to them in Barcelona. Red Bull Ring, we were kind of a bit more even Stevens, but we were about a tenth and a half quicker than them through there. So it really does yo-yo. You see that in the midfield. it feels like right now Haas are a little bit more consistent in just being in that fight for the points. So, we still got our work cut out, but yeah, it is what it is. We don't have an upgrade really until a bit of time.
Okay, right, we'll let you go. Thank you for coming on, Alex. Appreciate it, mate. Great drive today. Well done. Lovely to hear from Alex Albon. A horrible day for your former team, Jolyon. Alpine. Pierre Gasly, of course, starting from the back of the grid with new power unit components. Gearbox out before the race had even started.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the worst. I had a retirement on the formation lap before with Renault, but I was due to start 11th, and I was gutted, obviously. But Gasly, they could have taken that car out of parc ferme. They must have not known that anything was due, and then just fired it up on the grid, and on a steady formation lap, it's blown. But gutting for Pierre. At least he was due to start last, and it was a long shot to the points. Esteban, one of those drivers that put on the inters at the first ask, which was the Perez-Leclerc mistake. And horror show for Alpine.
Horror show. Wasn't the only driver to put on those inters early on in the race. Charles Leclerc did the same thing, completely ruined his race. Sergio Perez as well. We believed he was going to be a bit of a testing mule today, just feeling out the conditions for Verstappen in order for them to know when to change. But sticking on the inters then, 2 laps back for him at the flag. A miserable day, but not really of his. Today, not really of his. I mean, obviously his starting position was entirely of his making, but the 2 laps back, not perhaps representative.
Yeah, no, obviously not representative, but he was 16th. He was stuck behind Kevin Magnussen. Red Bull obviously chanced their arm with it, and it wasn't the right call. But it's the bigger picture for Checo, isn't it? Okay, 2 laps down, it's a worthless race for him. They've got to get into the position where he's there to try and fight with the guys at the front again. He needs to reset. We're at the end of a triple header that's been pretty horrible. Reset for Budapest, and he needs some really good races now, because he's actually coming under big pressure. He's not providing Red Bull anything at the moment.
Red Bull will be testing Liam Lawson here this coming week. It's a filming day, but as we know in Formula One, filming days do provide you an opportunity to test a modern car a little bit. You've got 200 kilometers of running out there on track. This time last year, Red Bull put Daniel Ricciardo in the car. Slightly different. It was a Pirelli tyre test. But the data from that, the confidence from that, convinced them to put Daniel Ricciardo in that RB, what was it called then? AlphaTauri last year, and replace Nick de Vries. The chatter in the paddock here is that Sergio Perez could find himself replaced, if not before the summer break, then after the summer break, either by Liam Lawson or, quite incredibly, by Daniel Ricciardo moving up. The feeling, though, is they have to do something.
Look, the brutal, honest verdict right now is that it can't get worse than Checo. Daniel Ricciardo's won 8 Grand Prix. He's not having the easiest time himself. But when Perez is fighting for 8th, 9th positions, week in, week out, now it's been a long time since he's been anywhere near a podium, they're losing nothing by trying a different driver. And it's obviously not working out for Checo. We've had this before for the last couple of years. He starts okay and then drifts away, but this is a bigger drift and earlier in the season than before. And it seems to me for Red Bull, now they've got McLaren and they've got Mercedes, possibly Ferrari still nipping at their heels, they're now thinking, are we getting enough out of Checo? So he's got 2 races before the summer break to provide a glimmer of hope, because it's been a while.
And the reality of the situation is a driver who is and has been under increasing pressure, and we think he's probably off to IndyCar next year, is Logan Sargent, because he's never outqualified Alex Albon in the Grand Prix format. And yet he has outqualified Sergio Perez. What is it, 6, 7 times now? And when you look at that as a comparison, and you see how much Logan's being hit with not coming up to terms, not coming up to scratch, the fact that he's outqualifying Checo, it lays it all bare. And you don't want to kick a guy while he's down with Checo, but as you say, it's not really giving anything to them. In fact, that was Christian Horner's own words earlier in the weekend. He said he'd been nowhere for the last 5 weekends. Let's run through the order. Gasly DNF, Russell DNF, that's 20th and 19th. Joe, horror show for him, P18. Perez, 2 laps back in 17th. Ocon, 16th. Bottas, 15. Leclerc, P14. Then Ricciardo, Magnussen and Sargent. I want to give a shout out to Kev. He was having a great race today, firing up from the back of the field, putting the moves on. I really enjoyed watching Kev's race today.
He's always fun to watch.
We're going to miss him, aren't we?
We really are, if he doesn't manage to stay on the grid. I love watching Kevin Magnussen because he's a racer. He's a true racer. he'll give it a go. Okay, he'll take a few penalty points along the way, but he's always providing us some action. And honestly, Haas have got a pretty good position right now. Hülkenberg is rapid. Magnussen's doing a solid job as well.
That upgrade package really working for them. Brought a huge upgrade package this weekend. And Logan Sargent narrowly out of the points in P11. I think he's had a great weekend.
Very strong from Logan. Is it too little too late? May well be, but he can at least, even if he's going to be out of a drive at the end of the season, he's got to try and focus and leaving with his head held high, trying to get some results. He's still racing in Formula One. If Williams are half decent, as they were this weekend, there's points up for grabs, and he was very close again today.
Into the top 10 then. P10. Yuki Tsunoda, important points for VCarb at the end of what's been a horrible run of 3 races for them. That upgrade package that they brought just a few races ago, very much a downgrade for them. They're just trying to get back on pace with where they were at. But a solid drive from Yuki today. We didn't really see much of him on screen, but constantly kind of making his way, sliding up the order.
Honestly, don't remember seeing him once in that race.
Right?
But there was so much going on at the front that there's a lot of great drives were sort of glossed over further back. But yeah, Yuki back in the points. It's a bonus for VCarb. This is not one of their better tracks. I think they'll both be stronger in Budapest next time.
And one team that was expecting to have a horrible triple header, and for 2 races they did, was Aston Martin. Back on the pace this weekend, back in the top 10 with both drivers. Let's hear from Fernando Alonso.
Fernando, some points on the board, and these days they're so keen to get them when you can. You must be pleased to get something on the board.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a race that, secure with both cars points. I think it's never easy. You can have a very easy DNF, you can crash, you can make a big mistake on the tire choice, all these kind of things. So to execute the race more or less trouble-free is already a success.
Does it feel like you're making progress with this package? Was it more down to the specific conditions and the track here? Where are you at?
Yeah, I think we understood few mistakes that maybe we made in Barcelona and Austria. We regrouped after Austria, and we wanted to do definitely better in our home Grand Prix in front of our employees, our factory here. So yeah, happy with 7 and 8 for the team. It's a good boost into Hungary Spa. So yeah, much better weekend.
Great stuff. Thanks, Fernando.
Much better weekend, as Fernando said. P7, P8. Lance Stroll, again, with the advantage over Fernando Alonso. Is Fernando just a little bit under where we'd expect him to be? Or actually, do we have to give credit to Lance over the last few races for actually pulling out some really good drives in comparison to his multiple world champion teammate?
I give credit to Lance because he's ahead of Fernando, and whether that's Fernando dropping back or Lance just stepping his game up, it's so hard to tell, really. Aston Martin obviously have dropped away, so you wonder if Fernando's as hungry and perfect as he is when the car's capable of getting podiums. But you can only measure them against each other. Lance is doing really well and consistently solid at the moment.
Yeah, great result for Aston Martin and a great result for Haas. We've spoken about Kevin Magnussen, brilliant drive from him today, but a sensational weekend across the board for Nico Hülkenberg. More points on the back of that double point score for the team in Austria. I'd argue, other than Mercedes, probably the happiest team coming out of this weekend, Haas and Nico Hülkenberg.
Executed it so well. They really did. Nico got a bad start, was the cause of that bunch with Alex Albon on the first lap. Dropped down a few places, but he's got great pace. His one-lap pace has always been good. They're now finding, with that team, they've got race pace. I was speaking to the guys yesterday, and they're saying they're loving Haas under Ayo Komatsu. They've got now a couple of things that they've never had. Developments that work, upgrades that work, and race pace. And they've got drivers to make the most of it. So, yeah, they're really flying high at the moment, Haas. A really nicely executed race. They were on the right tire at the right time. The strategy was bang on. Nico bagged a load of points. There
were so many questions over Haas, over their appointment of Ayo Komatsu at the start of the season. They're putting all those doubts to one side with, as you say, just perfectly executed races, a development strategy that's working for them, a driver in Nico Hülkenberg who's doing a brilliant job week in, week out. For me, they're probably the surprise team of the season, because even Ayo said we were expecting to be last.
Yeah, we all thought they would be, because in pre-season testing they didn't focus on anything but long run pace and put a load of fuel in the car and focus on their weaknesses rather than trying to showboat at all. So we all thought, when they're saying they're bad and they're not looking like they're good on the timing screens, that they're not great, but they're methodical. And they're a team that, after so many years, look like they've got direction again. what they've got is a problem because Nico Hulkenberg's leaving, and he's so quick. He's one of the fastest drivers on one lap, so that's a big void that they've got to fill. Ollie Behrman's obviously coming in, and we know that he's a super talent. We think still Esteban Ocon will be coming, which will be a good signing. So they've still got good drivers coming in, but Hulkenberg will be a miss.
Looking at their race pace as well, you mentioned Haas's race pace. There was that point in the Grand Prix where Nico was holding the same pace as Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. Those three were really, really close together. The two McLarens and two Mercedes were a little bit gone. Nico had this, and they're a Ferrari customer team. And that car now appears to have pretty similar race pace to the factory Ferrari. That will, well, okay, here's the question. Is that a really positive thing for Haas, or is it a major worry for Ferrari?
Well, yeah, Ferrari shouldn't have been out-qualified by Haas. That's a question. Carlos actually said before the race that he thought he should have been ahead of at least Hulkenberg, maybe Oscar as well. I thought Carlos executed a really good race. So did Nico. And Ferrari, in a perfectly executed race, should be ahead of Haas, and they were. But, yeah, Ferrari aren't quite where they want to be. We heard from Carlos just a moment ago, and Haas are punching up really well.
Yeah, they're doing a sensational job, right, which is going to bring us on to the chat we need to have, I guess, about McLaren today. We heard from Oscar Piastri earlier, and he intimated that, perhaps the strategy wasn't as good as it could have been today. That appears now, Jolien, to be a recurring theme with that team this season. Is it indecision? Is it a lack of clarity? Is it just not being punchy enough? Where are they missing out? Because they've had the fastest car. They've been in positions to take more than one Grand Prix victory this year. And Miami, for as good as it was incredibly fortuitous with what went on with the safety car. Every chance that they've had where they've looked to be the strongest outfit, they appear to have frittered it away.
Miami was a shot at nothing because they had a very fast car and they were out of position. I think Lando was 6th, got 5th away from Checo. So then you try something different, and they got lucky with the safety car and won the race. Since then, they are lacking, I think, decisiveness in some mixed conditions. These conditions are horrible for strategists, Silverstone in Canada, but they've thrown away 2 wins where if they were perfect, they'd have taken Canada. If they were solid, they'd have taken this one. They had a 1-2 position. I think they're constantly being cautious, but in these dynamic races, you've got to be ahead of the game rather than being reactive. And it's too many times now that they're missing the perfect lap to stop. And I said it on commentary. You have one Max Verstappen in a fight with 2 Mercedes and 2 McLarens. When you have these mixed conditions, you have 1 or 2 laps to pit on that might work. And for Piastri, McLaren missed with both barrels.
Oh, they hung him out to dry.
Red Bull had 1 shot and they nailed it. McLaren completely missed the best one, missed the second one with Oscar, and he was toast for the rest of the race. And I thought Oscar, on another day, was driver of the day and the winner today. He was so fast. He got up to the back of Lando in the slippery conditions. He was rapid on the medium tyre at the end, which was his decision, and or he at least went with the suggestion from the team. And he was flying. If he was in the mix with Lewis, he had the pace to take it to Lewis at the end, whereas Lando's soft tyre was falling away. Oscar was brilliant, but the team let him down today.
Let's hear from Lando Norris on a day where he might have taken his 2nd Grand Prix victory, but ultimately had to be content with 3rd.
Hey, Lando. I don't really know what to say. Normally, a podium here would be a great thing for you, but I know the win was on the cards today. Just talk me through how you're feeling right now.
I'm pretty disappointed. I didn't do a very good job today with the calls, with knowing when to box. So, yeah, just I don't know what to say. So many things are good, so many things are in place, just not executing things the way I want to, the way I need to. So I'm just not to the level I need to be at. It's quite simple. I'm not performing at the level of the others at the minute, but something I need to work on.
Have you got kind of any idea, because I know you're always tough on yourself, have you got any idea why maybe in those moments you're making mistakes?
I don't know. I need to sit down and review it. I can't think about that now. I don't care about it at the minute, but something I'll sit down with the team and we'll go over and we'll discuss, of course, because I want to do a better job. And when you throw away a win, it's pretty disappointing. So I think some more obvious than others. But it's stuff from the team side and stuff from my side that we need to do a better job on together. But at the same time, today, more often than not, well, the two important calls are decisions I could have made and I didn't do. So yeah, just work I need to do on myself.
You'll get there, Lando.
He really will get there. Lando Norris, I'm sure that next Grand Prix victory just around the corner. We've been joined by Jerry Bruckheimer. Hello, sir. How are you?
Great to be here.
We obviously know you as a wonderful movie producer for so many years, so many great movies, which I could rattle off, but I won't bore everybody at home with that because we have just seen the teaser for the F1 movie, and we now know that it's going to be called F1. How proud are you to finally see all of your hard work finally sort of reach the public today?
3 years in the making. 3 years ago, we came to visit Stefano and Mohammed and this whole wonderful organization in F1. And fortunately, they blessed us and said, come on in, join us, and see what you can do. And here we are at Silverstone. The teaser ran today. Lewis Hamilton won, who's one of our producers on the movies, keeping us honest so we get the racing right. And it's been a phenomenal weekend for us.
I think the most impressive thing, from my perspective watching it, is how fast the cars look. I don't think I've ever seen onboard footage look that viscerally exciting as we did during that teaser. How much work has gone into creating the correct technology in order to be able to show that in a way that we've never seen it before?
We have 14 cameras we can put on the car. The cameras are smaller than the cameras we use in Top Gun. They also are mobile. They can move and turn, which we've never had before. So technology has advanced so much, and our IMAX quality, which is even better.
Incredible. And we saw that the one move in it as the camera moves, and it's Brad in the car. Now, is that CGI, or is that Brad actually in the car?
That's Brad driving. 3 months of training, working with the best stunt drivers. Lewis even said, look, you're doing really well. And that's quite a compliment.
Wow, you get a compliment like that from Lewis. I guess you really are doing well. We can't wait to see the movie itself. When you made Top Gun, you went straight away to make Days of Thunder, the brilliant NASCAR movie. You've come from Top Gun Maverick straight into Formula One. What is it about elite fighter pilots and racing drivers that has kind of given you that connection between the two? Do you see similarities between them?
Yeah, they're men who, take to the edge. All these drivers take it right to the edge. Whether you're a fighter pilot or a driver, you're right on the edge, and we love that. We just don't want them to fall off the cliff, but they're great at what they do.
Wonderful. And listen, were you an F1 fan before making this movie, or has making this movie made you into an F1 fan?
It turned me into an F1 fan. I was a NASCAR fan, not going into the movie, but afterwards now I'm an F1 fan. I mean, 3 years of following the racing and watching all the great stuff that you guys do. You do a phenomenal job promoting the sport. And I'm starting to understand it. It's taken 3 years, but I'm starting to get it.
Wonderful stuff. We'll hook you up with an F1 TV subscription so you can carry on watching. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Really appreciate it. Cannot wait to see the movie. But that teaser was something else. Looks incredible.
Thank you.
Jerry, thank you. Jerry Bruckheimer, folks. And Laura Winter has managed to grab hold of Zach Brown.
Well, Zach, Lando Norris is on the podium. A Brit at Silverstone on the podium is obviously a great story, but I know it's a bit bittersweet. Look, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I'd imagine it was an absolute nightmare on that pit wall, trying to make the right decisions at the right time. Can you talk us through what that was like and how the decisions were made in the end?
Yeah, it was tough, as you say. Hindsight's 2020, as they say. I think we ultimately got it wrong. I think we had both our drivers could have won there. They did an excellent job. When you're leading the race, you also have to kind of take the first decision, so it's a little bit easier to key off of what others did. When early on, Lando and Oscar were right next to each other. Obviously, double stack them, you're going to lose about 5 seconds. Turns out Oscar lost a lot more time because the track was deteriorating, so losing the 5 seconds there would have been a better call. But again, you don't really know because you're the lead car, so you're going to be the first to find out the weather. And then there at the end, I think maybe mediums would have been a better strategy, as we saw on Oscar. Oscar was absolutely flying there. Max was flying on the hards, and softs were going to struggle. So we had a set of mediums. So we'll just go back and review it. I think the upside is we got more points than all of our competitors. We were on the podium. It was an exciting race, and big congratulations to Lewis. Awesome champion, so good to see him win at his home race.
Yeah, it was an incredible race and a brilliant result for British fans as well. Do you feel you left Lando Norris out one lap too late as well, when Max Verstappen obviously had come in?
We'll have to do a debrief on that. We had a slow stop, and he came out a couple seconds behind Lewis, and we were a couple seconds slow in the pit stop. So we'll have to go back and look. I think it's too early to tell on that, but we certainly lost some time with a bit of a slow stop.
And now McLaren are in a position where you are able to say you are out and out a very fast car. You are able to win races. Is strategy and making these right calls going to be more of a focus moving forward, so that when you are in race-winning positions, when you are that lead car on track, you can get on the right side of these results?
Yeah, for sure. I think you got to be great at everything to win in Formula One with the level of competition, and Mercedes and Red Bull have been doing a lot of winning and championships, and we're got a car now that's capable of racing for the championship. We need to make sure of every aspect of what we do is, as Andrea says, world championship material. So we didn't get it right this time. We've gotten it right plenty of other times. We'll learn from it. We'll get ready for Hungary.
Thank you, Zach, for your time. Hard luck today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they really do need to learn from it. The fastest car in the sport, but so far only one Grand Prix victory this season. Anthony Hamilton, my friend. That scene with you and Lewis after the race. With Laura Winter, who's just been off doing an interview, she was getting all emotional. We were all getting emotional. What was that moment like for you and your boy here as he wins again?
It's one of those things that, you always want the best for your kids, and for your family. And I just wanted to be there for Lewis. And, I don't know, it was nice to be there at the right time, because he had a lot of emotion to let loose. And I'm the only guy I'm sure that he would be able to do that with. So it was great to be there.
Can you give us an insight? And I don't want to get too personal, because it's between you and your boy, but he spoke about it a little bit, about those days when he's woken up and questioned himself whether he could still do this.
Yeah.
It's been 2.5 years since that impossibly difficult moment in Abu Dhabi. How hard has it been for the 7-time world champion, the driver with the most wins in history, to consistently pick himself back up? How much have you had to help him?
It's that. Well, he's done that on his own. And for sure, he questions himself like we all do occasionally. We get up and we say, you question yourself, and you question whether you're still good enough, young enough, strong enough. The thing is, I know Lewis obviously, and as far as I'm concerned, he's still got everything that he needs to run at the top. And sometimes you just need reminding about that. But he knows he's got it, And today, what a huge confidence boost, huge confidence boost for him today.
I know it's a race where so many things happen. You had George leading, Lewis coming on strong in the wet, then Lando coming through. What's it like to be a dad in the garage watching a race like that with your son not winning for a couple of years?
The thing is, it's always nerve-wracking, because you just want the best for your kids, and you want the best for Lewis, because I know how hard he works for things. And so today it was up and down. The emotion was up and down, but I had full confidence that whatever happened, he was going to give his best. And when Lewis gives his best, it normally ends up with a win.
And you must feel, when you come to Silverstone, there's something special about this place. Even when Mercedes haven't been quick, it's a podium. When there's a chance of a win, it's usually a win. In GP2, it was spectacular. What is it about Silverstone?
It's the fans that come to the British Grand Prix. British, Dutch, German. It's the fans that come to the British Grand Prix, because they know that we put on a great show here. And the weather can be up and down, so you never quite know what to expect. If you knew it was going to be sunny every time you came here, you're just going to get a nice dry race. But we never know what we're going to get here, and what we do get here is a spectacle. So hopefully people have gone home extremely happy.
What a lovely way for Lewis to finish his time with Mercedes, the last British Grand Prix for him with Mercedes, by taking that win. Anthony, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much, Anthony Hamilton. Right, let's hear from the man who finished second today, Max Verstappen.
Hey Max, great fight back today. You made some great decisions. The team made some great decisions. Does that make it particularly satisfying the way you worked together to fight back?
I mean, it was satisfying with making all the right calls. I mean, we couldn't probably have done a better job today looking at that. So that's always been a strong point. But we were just too slow. I mean, in that first stint, I couldn't keep up with Mercedes, couldn't keep up with the McLarens. It was just, dagging harder than them. So that's quite worrying. But then, we have to just analyze everything. It was, of course, a fun race, with the rain coming in, and I definitely enjoyed it. But looking at the pure pace, it was quite tough. Of course, the team put the right tyres on at the end. I think the soft was not the right tyre till the end. The hard tyre definitely was. So very pleased with that we got that right, and I could push till the end. But not the best or strongest weekend for us.
Were you surprised by the lack of the pace? Because I feel like there's maybe been a few weekends now where you're surprised by specifically your car relative to the rest.
I mean, most of the races lately, we haven't really been that quick in the race. I mean, we managed to win a few, but I think just by making good calls and stuff, putting ourselves in the right place. But we have work to do. We know that, and we'll see next race.
Right, thanks, Max. Thank you.
Max Verstappen there, incredibly, first time since Austria and Silverstone 2022 that Max has gone 2 races without a win. There you go, stats. Sam Bird has joined us. Sam, of course, you will know from Formula E. You've also spent a number of years with Mercedes, working with them. You know how that team works inside out. You know Lewis incredibly well. What a day, what an occasion.
Oh, what an incredible day. And I'm stood here in Papaya, and I desperately wanted Lando to win. However, I'm so thrilled that Lewis won that race, to be honest, because I went through a stage in my career where I went 2.5 years not winning. And I know how it feels to feel like, am I ever going to win again? Yeah. Is that me done? Because, Lewis is getting on, and he's proven that not to be the case. He's gone and won the British Grand Prix for a 9th time, most ever. Today was awesome.
And what a buzz. You said yourself.
I'm buzzing. I'm really buzzing. It was such a good race. And do you know what? Changeable conditions. He made the right calls at the right time. Strategically, Lewis Hamilton and Peter Bonington today were absolutely on it compared to everybody else.
Ruth, that's pretty accurate, isn't it? How did you see the strategy today in terms of what was good and what was not so good and what was terrible?
Well, first and foremost, Lewis Hamilton, phenomenal. I've got to say well done. I mean, amazing. Amazing job by Lewis. Amazing job by that Mercedes pit wall. I have to say, Red Bull nailed it as well with Max. They really put that car back into contention, as you say. Not the fastest car. It's weird to say that, isn't it? It's quite different. Yeah, got him from P6 to P3 up that first round of pit stops. And where, let's give Mercedes they brought both cars in. That was the right choice. McLaren, unfortunately, lost positions. And then it all came down to that final round of pit stops, didn't it? In terms of actually timing when you were going to get back onto the slick tyre. And again, phenomenal job at the front by Lewis. A couple of other teams also boxed on the same lap, but it's Lewis's day, so let's focus on how great he was there.
Let's focus on Lewis and let's hear from Lewis.
Lewis, congratulations. Heard you choke up when you crossed the line, saw you embrace your dad, saw you embrace your fans. Just talk me through how you're feeling right now.
Yeah. I think that might be the most emotional ending to a race that I think I've probably ever had. I really wasn't expecting it great race, but when I came across the line, the last 7 laps felt so long, and I could see the guys behind me, and I saw Max starting to catch, and when I came across the line, I was just in such disbelief because it'd been such a long time, since 2021 was such a hit, and it's taken so long to get back to here. And there were so many moments where I didn't think it would ever happen again, and but I just tried to continue to believe and just keep chasing. And then today I just prayed to have the best race I could possibly have.
You didn't put a foot wrong today, I thought. Did it feel as you were going through this Grand Prix that what it would mean if you could do it? Obviously, you're so good around here at Silverstone.
Honestly, I didn't think about that during the race. I mean, I was just chasing, hunting, aggressive. I think there was one moment I went in the rain, went wide at turn 1 when it started getting wet. It was very, very hard, such tricky conditions. But, it was... I'm glad that I was able to keep it on track. And then obviously the McLarens came by, so it was a challenge to like keep up with them.
Just one final thing. What is it about Silverstone that you're so good at? I think it's 12 consecutive podiums. It brings you alive, even if you haven't got the best car.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, it really is the fans. It's the fact that I have my family here that I don't get to see a lot during the year, and the fan support here is, there are no words to express just how, when we go around on the bus and you see so many flags and so many caps, and just try and point as many people as you can out and know how much it means to them, but also how much it means to me.
Congrats, Liz.
Thanks.
10 points for Gryffindor. We've been having Harry Potter chat during that for some reason. Sam said Lewis Hamilton got the golden snitch today. Maybe not a question for Sam. Ruth, are McLaren just a little bit too Hufflepuff at the moment?
Well, there was definitely a Gryffindor-style drive by Mercedes. I don't know who's Slytherin. I don't want to get bashed by making another house, another team Slytherin. But yeah, they undercut for the win at the crossover. That was a strategy call. And, we did actually have a third strategy moment of the race where, some teams did box for that Inter when we had that really brief, only one lap where it hit that Inter conditions. We even heard on the radio Mercedes asking Lewis, as they asked other drivers, what the conditions were. And he said, no, I want to stay out. So, 10 points for Gryffindor all round. He did a great job. Great job by the pit wall, and also phenomenal driving as well. It wasn't just strategy. It was he drove the socks off that thing, and that Red Bull was really fast in the dry conditions, just as we were expecting right at the end of the race. And he didn't put a foot wrong. Looked after those tyres and brought it home in front of just the 400,000 adoring fans, and even the McLaren fans were cheering, weren't they?
To be fair, yeah, I was happy with it. But for me, there were three key things that McLaren will look back on when they get back in the motorhome and have their meetings. Why potentially didn't they double stack Oscar? Because one lap too long. Why didn't they go one lap earlier with Lando? And also, why the soft tyre? Because when they've had the soft tyre on, they've actually hurt the surface of that soft tyre earlier than the Mercedes. They had a set of mediums there to use, and I think they've been happy with the mediums all weekend. Why not use those mediums? I think they'll be asking those three questions.
So I'll tell you what, I think the track was just drier than anyone thought it was. I think everyone waited so long. When Magnussen put on the soft, the track was basically dry. Normally you're sliding out of the pit lane, you're trying to find a bit of grip like we saw in Canada, you're slithering around. But,
God.
I don't even know why I engaged in that. But within one lap, they were fastest laps of the race being put in. If you're sliding around, you want the soft. If the track is dry and you want to hammer it for 14 laps, the soft is fragile. And I think we had Oscar and Carlos on saying it was actually difficult to know how wet the track was, but I think they just misjudged it looked like.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely. Here's where you can see everything at the Hungarian Grand Prix week. Sorry, Ruth, I thought you were going to say something then. Here's where you can catch everything for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's your next race coming up here on F1 TV. Thursday, the 18th of July is your weekend warm-up. Then Friday, practice 1 and practice 2. It is a normal weekend. So practice 3 Saturday morning and qualifying coming your way at 3:30 local time. The Formula 1 Hungarian Grand Prix on Sunday, the 21st of July. And that is pretty much it from your post-race show. Everyone's run away. It's just you and me, Joe.
I'm glad we had Sam on, though, because I didn't win for 2.5 years, and I was done. So it's good to have someone else that knows what it's like to take another win after that.
Now, it's been a wonderful weekend. It's been a great time, but we've been celebrating here this weekend because our friend Amy Overy is celebrating her 25th year in Formula 1. This is her 25th anniversary this year. She is going to kill me. We couldn't do what we do without you, Amy. We love you. And none of these shows would happen without you. So thank you for all you do. And please don't kill me. Okay. Love you. That's it from the British Grand Prix. Jolien, what a weekend. What an astonishing race. What a brilliant win. What a season we're having in Formula 1.
Just keeps on giving, doesn't it? Lando v Max, v George, v Lewis now entering the chat with a win. Can Ferrari bounce back? We've got so many races still to go, and each and every race is providing us a thrill right now. It's just such a pleasure to call.
We said whisper it a few weeks ago. You can shout it as loud as you want. We have got a season. F1 in 2024 is off the charts. We'll see you in Hungary in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, from all of us here at Silverstone, thank you so much for tuning in. It has been an absolute joy. Come rain or come shine, this place has delivered, and it is a Lewis Hamilton win. We'll see you in Hungary. A very warm goodbye.
This is the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Welcome to Hungary.
And we go racing, and immediately they're going to go wheel to wheel. Oh, he made contact!
And Oscar Piastri goes in the second place.
A track of strategy and persistence. It's so intense.
Oh, look at that!
Piastri not giving it up.
Max Verstappen wins the Hungarian Grand Prix.